Today, let's talk Ford Maverick and all its packages. Now, things can get pretty confusing pretty quickly. There is some tips and tricks that are must-knows, and I'm going to be doing a haul, of course. Don't be fooled as we go through this because it is actually pretty easy to get fooled while either building your Maverick at a dealership or building your Maverick on the website. I do recommend that you follow along with the build and price. This video is going to be a template to make sure that you get the right price and you get the right build, because really there's a couple packages, there's actually 4, and there's little things to know about each one. So I'm Johnny from Johnny's Car Care and Reviews, and I'm here to help you make sure you get the right Maverick. And if you've already gotten your Maverick and ordered, well, I wouldn't be surprised if some of you end up maybe changing your order. Now make sure if you already have a VIN assigned, before you're changing your order, make sure that that won't put you to the back of the line. But anyways, we're going to be talking about tips and tricks in just a moment. This really is a must-know information video if you're either considering buying a Maverick or if you've already ordered a Maverick. So let's just jump right in. This is episode 3. So in previous videos, we've really gone deep into what standard equipment comes with each model. So I'm not going to go through all the standard equipment of each model. I do want to remind you though, don't be fooled. While the XL doesn't have cruise control, it has a whole pack of things. You know, just the other day I got asked if we needed XLT luxury to have backup camera, and that's really fair. You know, this is a big don't be fooled topic when you're on the build website, or if you go into a dealer and you just say, hey, I want this and that, they might suggest a Lariat or an XLT, when really an XL or a model less than what they suggest would do the trick. So when you're on the building website, of course, if you go ahead and click, let's say, Lariat, and you review the equipment it has, well, when you get down to technology, you're going to see backup camera, you're going to see touch screen, and you could think that you need a Lariat to have touch screen and a backup camera. I just want to remind everyone that every single Maverick comes standard with automatic high beams, so that's fantastic. It comes with the automatic lights day and night, of course. It comes with the pre-collision assist with automatic emergency braking. So that means that the vehicle is going to prep the brakes and even brake up to about 25 miles per hour. It's going to brake for you. Now, it's not going to avoid an accident unless you're going pretty slow, but it will make that accident far less damage for that accident. And after you make contact, your brakes will be applied. Even if you've passed out and your foot's nowhere near that brake, after a collision, the Ford vehicle, the Maverick, will automatically start braking. So really good standard equipment. You're getting a rear view camera on every single model. You're getting that touchscreen on every single model. And here was another question I got just the other day. I was asked, what do you need in regards to, being able to actually use the touchscreen? So people, one person in particular assumed you need Sync 3, and they also assumed actually that came standard with the Lariat, but that doesn't. That comes with the Lariat luxury package, and this is why we're going to be talking about packages today, because it's easy to get confused, but it's also easy to think that you need that Sync 3 to actually have a vehicle with a touchscreen that functions really well, that you can communicate with hands-free. And that's just not the case. Every single model has Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. And that means if you have a smartphone, you'll be able to connect your smartphone with a wire to the vehicle. You need your original wire, not like a cheap wire that will likely not have enough power to be able to transfer the data over, but you need your original or approved by your phone company's wires. You need a good quality wire, but anyways, with that, after that, you'll be able to communicate with the vehicle. Now, of course, you can't change the temperature of the vehicle or the radio stations, but you can do the important stuff like call somebody or use the navigation, because that's really cool. Even on an XL, through your phone, you're going to have navigation. And every single model has Ford Pass, meaning you can lock and unlock the doors, as well as, start the vehicle without actually getting a model that has remote start on the key. So I just wanted everyone to keep that in mind. That's some really important stuff. And no matter what model you pick, do make sure that you do get a signed offer from your dealer. And that doesn't just mean you sign the build offer, because that's kind of a signed offer, but that's with you signing it. Well, that only is indicating that you will take possession of that vehicle, not that they're going to sell it to you at the price that's on that sheet. So make sure you get a signed offer that says make, model, dealership name, your name, and the interest rate that they're offering, which we'll look at today, as well as their signature. Once you've got all that, you're good to go. Now let's jump right in looking at the model. So let's say we're looking at a 2-liter XL. Now I'm building this with you at the same time, so excuse me if my eyes are sometimes a little lower. It's just because I'm making sure that I get everything spot on and that we build this together. So going with the XL means we don't have access to the FX4 package, but we do have access to the 4K tow package. Now, because those two packages are similar and there's a lot of confusion, that's a whole area to get fooled on. I'm just gonna go to an XLT because the XLT also has Copilot 360 and it also has the luxury package. So let's take the model, let's leave the XL model, knowing that don't spend too much time trying to find the FX4 or a luxury package on the XL. You're not gonna find it there. That's also part of the reason there's no luxury package for the XL, so there's no way to get cruise control from factory on the XL. Let's go right over to the XLT, put it as a 2-liter turbo, jump right in. We've got $22,360 as a price. But right now, keep in mind, we're on a front wheel drive. So if we tried to go to the FX4 Off-Road Package, it looks like it's only $800, but is it? It really isn't. But first, before we talk price, it's a whole lot more than $800. Let's talk about details to put some worth to that FX4 package. Keep in mind that the FX4 Off-Road Package has a more aggressive tire that's better at, eating up snow or mud and getting you where you need to go. And that's part of why it's going to end up costing a lot. You're going to need all-wheel drive for this package. Comes with a 6.5-inch productivity screen in the instrument cluster. What that means is behind the steering wheel, instead of a little 4-inch screen, you're going to get a nice 6.5-inch screen that's pretty colorful, looks great, and actually, normally that's the Lariat's part of the Lariat standard equipment. So you're going to have an interior that's going to look more like a Lariat, obviously, without the ActiveX. Now, I've talked about that in my last road test video if you want to find out more about the ActiveX versus the cloth. We've got the exposed front tow hooks. Now, this is Ford. Ford's built Ford tough. They're not putting on fake tow hooks. It's not like certain vehicles that will have tow hooks in the front, and the first time you try to pull someone out or get pulled out from that tow hook, it just rips right out, bangs into the other vehicle, and ends up costing you an insurance claim. And it's not poorly placed either, like underneath the bumper, where if you're just not at the right angle, you're actually going to rip off part of the bumper. I've actually personally done that, trying to help someone out, and their vehicle had this tow hook in the back. They're in a ditch. I thought I'd be a nice guy and pull them out, and I wasn't quite at the right angle at some point, and it, really chewed up their bumper and disconnected it. So got myself in trouble trying to help out. But this is a real tow hook. It's properly placed up front, and you will be able to pull people out of the ditch. You probably won't end up in the ditch because the intelligent all-wheel drive is fantastic. But it comes at a cost. We'll talk about that in a minute. You have the FX4 Off-Road box decal. Now, please don't think people used to have... The F-150 used to come as its own model. There's like the FX4 model. Now, a whole lot of people who remember those trucks from 2011 to about 2014, including the 2014 year model, will, often be looking for an FX4 F-150. Keep in mind, this isn't, an FX4 Maverick in the sense that it's its own complete model with a, completely different from beginning to the end. There's a few things different about this appearance-wise. Most of it is mechanical. So, the box decal isn't saying as much as it did on an F-150 from 2011 to 2014. Now you've got the hill descent control. That's a little button you're going to put in the dash, and it's going to make it so that the transmission helps out with braking. It helps maintain the speed of the vehicle so you don't overheat your brakes. You also have select drive modes: sand, mud, and ruts mode. Sorry about that. Now those drive modes, I've got those on the Bronco, and I can say that in the deep snow I really was happy having sand mode. Sand mode is good for loose material. I played also around in mud. Both modes were very good in the deep snow. You also have, so I think it's going to be good that that model has those modes, and if you're going to be doing any kind of off-roading, this is fantastic. Even if your off-roading means pulling a small camper to a semi-remote location, you know, off the beaten path. You've got skid plates, which, you know, speaking of off the beaten path, an FX4 package could be perfect for farmers. It'd also be perfect for anyone who's going to tow anything on a regular basis. So, you know, if you've got a lawn business and you're pulling a lawn tractor, yeah, your trailer is probably going to weigh 500 to 800 pounds, and your lawn tractor is going to weigh, what, 400 pounds maybe? Still a great package to have because it comes with a heavy-duty engine cooling fan and a heavy-duty radiator. So if you're pulling on a regular basis, those two things are going to make it so that your engine runs less hot, and that's fantastic for long-term reliability, and I would highly recommend it. So any small business, fantastic to add the FX4 package. If you're going to be having a, you know, let's say 1,000 pounds in the box on a regular basis, or 1,000 pounds or more behind the vehicle, go with this package right here. Now, do keep in mind it's going to come also with the trailer hitch receiver and 4-pin connector. But that 4-pin connector is only for the lights on your trailer. If your trailer has brakes, it's not going to run the brakes on that trailer. If you want to run the brakes on a trailer, what you're going to need, and just before getting to that, let's show you what it does to the price. I promised I would do that and will not forget. Add price. And you can see the price actually jumps up to $3,020 because the FX4 package and, you know, spoiler alert, the 4K tow package require all-wheel drive and, of course, the EcoBoost engine. And if we were to, I can promise you, if we were to add FX4 and then also add 4K, there's a few things that repeat between the two packages, but you will repay the price of the 4K. Now, what is the price on the 4K? Well, if you already have all-wheel drive, it's only $745. And it's it's a fantastic price for what it's going to give you. And if you don't have all-wheel drive, you're on the fence, you're not sure if you really want it, but you are thinking you either want FX4 or 4K, well, in the case of the 4K, it's going to run you $2,965. So in both cases, about $3,000. They need all-wheel drive. You can't have them with front-wheel drive. And I've gotten comments, a really good comment that said, hey, this commentator, part of our community, this individual said that his 2013 Escape 2-liter turbo front-wheel drive was allowed to pull 3,500 pounds. Now, why is it with the Maverick all-wheel drive, why is it that the Maverick to pull 4,000 pounds absolutely requires the all-wheel drive? So it's a point of frustration. And I'm not sure what the answer is, but I understand that point of frustration. Okay, so we're at the 4K package. Who needs this? Why would you get it? Well, you're gonna want it if you pull, you know, very often 2,000 pounds. And that might seem odd because it's called the 4K tow package. It's for pulling 4,000 pounds. Well, how I look at it is it's made to pull up to 4,000 pounds. I don't know if I'd want to pull 4,000 pounds with a Maverick every single day. It could be done, and the engine and transmission, I'm sure, will have plenty of power to do so, because keep in mind, this Maverick weighs about 3,675 pounds, probably a little bit more when you add all-wheel drive and 4K, but you've got a relatively light vehicle versus its power ratio, and the proof is in the acceleration times. We've got one company, a major company that got it. It was either 5.9 seconds or 6 seconds. I believe it was either Car and Driver or Road and Track. Now let's look at the details of the 4K. So who's going to need this? Everyone that's pulling, let's say, 2,000 pounds on a very regular basis, or anyone who's going to pull obviously over 2,000 pounds on even if it's twice a year, because with the regular hitch and without the FX4 package, you don't have the cooling fan, you don't have the bigger radiator. I wouldn't ever want to pull more than 2,000 pounds, because if your transmission does overheat and you have a problem, it's not going to be covered under warranty. You can't pull 3,000 pounds just that one time, and if Ford finds out during the warranty claim, you're not going to have your transmission covered. So definitely, if you're going to pull over 2,000 pounds, if there's any chance you're going to later on buy, a quad, an ATV, a camper, go with the 4K tow package. But enough about that. Hopefully everyone that will need one in the future will get one, and if they don't, well, your Maverick's probably going to have a pretty darn good trade-in value, and you can always just order up the right Maverick later on. If you get a 3,500 pound boat, that would be about 20 feet, or if you get a little camper. Now, this package gives you $225 for tires. It's giving you all season BSW. What is BSW? All it is black sidewall tires. So it sounds like they're really fancy with the code BSW, but it just means black sidewall tires. The A/S, well, that's all season. So you could drive these year round, but just do keep in mind that in temperatures well below freezing, the tire is also going to freeze and isn't going to give you nearly as much braking and stopping power, and it's going to be a little wobbly in the bendies. However, Ford's all-wheel drive system will work very hard to send different amounts of power to different wheels, up to about, I believe it's 16 times per second. It can modify how much power it sends to each wheel. So I would think even with all-season tires, it's going to be pretty good at keeping itself in a straight line, but it's going to have it will have reduced traction and less stopping power. But I'm going to leave all my tire talk for my Bronco video, because I've got real life testing. Now, you're also going to get a trailer hitch receiver with the 7-pin connector. So the 7-pin connector, that's the connector that's required to be able to send power to the brakes, to control the brakes on your trailer. And if you're pulling either very regularly 2,000 pounds, or even a little less, or, like I said, if you're ever going to pull more than 2,000 pounds, this is the package for you, because remember, the Maverick weighs 3,675 pounds. If you got 2,000 pounds behind it every single day, that's not quite, that's about half the weight of the truck. So having those brakes on the trailer will definitely help with, just the overall lifespan of your vehicle. And when I say, overall long-term life of your vehicle, I really want to specify the brakes. Obviously, if your trailer doesn't have brakes, the brakes on the vehicle are going to be working way harder, and you risk going through pads and discs much more often. But remember, FX4 package, hill descent control, that's to make sure that your discs don't overheat, because the transmission helps out with braking. And that's part of the reason why I think if you're pulling 1,500 pounds on a regular basis, get the FX4 package. It'll help out. It'll help save on your brakes if you use the hill descent control button, and it's also going to just help save on the heating of the engine. So yes, heating on the engine. Speaking of that, the 4K tow package, it also repeats upgraded cooling fan, higher capacity radiator. Are they the same? Almost certainly. If you have both, do you get a discount on one? Absolutely not. It's just the way it is. I can't change it. You can't change it. For now, that's just the way it is. But don't worry, the 4K tow package is still a good deal, even taken with an FX4, because you get a trailer brake controller, just that alone. If you want to install a good one from Ford, for example, on an F-150, it's about $300. This package is $745, so just with the trailer brake controller, we almost have half the price of the package. This package, I promise you, is priced, in my opinion, very well. Very good for us, the consumer. So, of course, upgraded drive ratio. Now, that's worth something. I have that changed on my Mustang for a 410. That's expensive. That is definitely expensive to change aftermarket. So you've got the upgraded drive ratio. Now, if anyone's changed their drive ratio on a truck recently and you know how much it is, please add it in the comments section. course, the higher capacity radiator, the upgraded cooling fan, like on the FX4, you get the transmission oil cooler. So what it comes down to is the motor, even if you have an FX4, the motor could let you pull 4,000 pounds, and you're not going to feel like you're doing anything horrible to the vehicle, because what you're doing to the vehicle that's horrible is overheating the transmission. And that's why when you're pulling over 2,000 pounds, you absolutely need the 4K tow package, because that is the only time you get a transmission oil cooler. And you're not going to want to try to add this to a non 4K package Maverick later on. It'll cost a fortune. So get the 4K if you're thinking you might be getting a boat, a heavier ATV, 2 Sea-Doos, whatever it may be. If there's a chance you're getting something over 2,000 pounds in the next 4 years, the 4K tow package is a great price. So that is everything that's on the 4K tow package. I think I've covered enough. We know who needs it, why you might need it. You might even just need it just in case. So we've talked about the 4K tow package. We've talked about the FX4 package. Future videos on the Bronco, we're going to be talking about tires, which will help you get the right tires on your Maverick. And we're also going to be talking in the next video, because this sadly concludes episode 3 of everything I wish I knew when I ordered my Maverick, which is really a must know for you information video. Now, we've talked about the different packages, but what we're going to do in episode 4, probably the final episode of what I wish I knew, unless I find new stuff that I wish I knew, but we're going to be talking about the XLT luxury package versus a standard Lariat. It looks like there's no price difference, very little price difference, making a lot of people think if they're already shopping an XLT luxury, why not take the Lariat? Well, a base Lariat is missing a whole lot of stuff that the XLT luxury package has that you very well might need now or later on, a couple years down the road. So, stay tuned for episode 4. We'll be talking about how the XL has no luxury package and what that means. We're going to be talking about what is in the XLT luxury package, what's in the standard Lariat package, because like I said, you lose most of the XLT luxury package, and that's why an XLT luxury and a Lariat are almost the same price. And what's in that Lariat luxury package? Do you really need it? Is it worth the money? Spoiler alert, it's $3,750 to add on to an already, relatively inexpensive price for a truck, but starting to get expensive when you look at the starter price on the Maverick of $20,000. But it's $3,750. So let's discuss, is it worth it? What's in it? Who needs it? Because I really do want to help out. So episode 3 is all concluded. Thank you so much for watching. I'd really appreciate it if you could drop a comment that says finisher. It'll let me judge how to, build content in the future. What interests you? Is this a topic that kept your attention? You can also drop it in the comment section if there's things that you'd really like to see me do differently or add to the channel. And in the meantime, please like and subscribe. It does help feed that poodle. You'd even dress as him. So thank you so much. And until next time, I wish you all more cars and more power, and do hope you get to put the pedal to the metal if that's your thing. Take care.